Right, good morning everyone. Hope you had a good morning so far. My name is Shoal and I'll be hosting the webinar. Right, the topic is where to start with Revit. Okay, so it's been asked a couple of times already, each time, you want to get going, but then something comes up and you back to square one. So this is just with my experience, just a couple of things and suggestions and workflows that trying to assist you to get going with Revit. Right, so the agenda, we're just going to introduce the topic and then we're going to talk about external factors that might influence your decisions. And then obviously looking internally what the first steps is going to be to for you to take as a suggestion. And then the process or the workflow that that we suggest that you follow to get going and with Revit. All right. Okay. So I did kind of allude to it, but Revit has been for a couple of probably a couple of good 10 years, and if you haven't got onto it, it might be various problems or various things that you have encountered that blocked you. Perhaps the software in the beginning was there's rough edges, which has now been smoothed out. There's different versions of the software, perhaps a cheaper one and a more expensive one. Maybe the entry-level cost is now lower, so maybe it's a good time to get into it. And it's January, so it might one or two might have had New Year's resolutions that come into play. But anyway, right. So the idea is to show you some suggestions and some workflows, just to give you tips on how to get going. Right. So looking at external sources that would influence your decision. One is the cloud and the whole BIM topic. Just as a background, BIM is just a way of working. So it's basically an idea, and that idea just allows you to be more efficient. So as all your file types are similarly named. You work in a similar way. There's level of detail that you look at as the project progresses. So all of this is just kind of a way of working, but the software that allows you to or to author or to create these models or BIM models or whatever is Revit. There's others as well from other vendors, but so Revit is a BIM authoring tool that allows you to get into this game of BIM. And then further than that, the cloud, and obviously that gets pushed from international markets. You have to adhere to certain BIM standards, etc. It's just a way of working, but it obviously has pressurized us to progress to a BIM authoring tool, in this case Revit. Then further to that is the cloud, and that allows, especially with working from home in the COVID scenario, that allowed us to upload our models to the cloud. Other stakeholders in other centers or cities could download that, or even in the same city, and we work on the same kind of model and timeline of this project. Right, as you can see there, the little construction cloud is the new name of this particular idea. We're basically in the design side only. So Revit would, you would create your Revit models or your architectural model in the design side, but there's three other stages like plan, build, and operate that this model then allows and be used in. So meaning that once you've uploaded your model, the construction guys can be involved. They can see your model. They can use that to build with, to check snags, etc. on site if all the dimensions and things are right. So it's not only our little Revit model that we work with, or our little plan that we have, but it's bigger than that. There's a bigger world out there that that Revit actually opens up, and these are the external factors that kind of push us to get into this whole idea. All right. Okay. So first step though is basically to work with get into Revit. All right. Now, obviously the purchasing the software or whatever, there's different versions. There's a LT version which we kind of suggest you get into just to kind of learn the software, and then you can later on lapse that and maybe purchase the full version once you've fully functional on the software. All right, so it's the entry level, cost entry level is nice and low. All right, and once you get into the software, the idea is to still, the first step is just to, as you can see on the little picture there, is open your AutoCAD file or 2D file and use that as a starting point within your Revit scenario. Just to give you, I'm going to exit the slideshow basically. Yeah. All right. So just to give you an idea, this is just AutoCAD 2D little floor plan that I'm familiar with, perhaps because I'm perhaps moving from AutoCAD to Revit. It's 2D. It's nice and easy. It's just a little floor plan. And what I want to do is I want to now use this as the backdrop of my Revit model to start learning how to use Revit. All right, so what I'll then do is I'll take this AutoCAD file. You've got lines, you've got blocks and different things. What's nice is also AutoCAD and Revit talk nicely together. So as I open now Revit, I can then just bring in this AutoCAD file as a 2D plane, or kind of like a starting point. So it'll be a flat piece that you insert, and I'm not going to go through the actual clicks and picks, but you insert the AutoCAD file, and then what you do is you would then kind of use that as the background. Right, I'm going to... Okay, so the first step what I suggest, or we suggest, is to first do a little training course. All right, in this training course you will learn how to insert AutoCAD files, DXFs or images, how to do the basic wall, doors, windows, and you'll also learn how to do a little bit of you'll learn the terminology, levels, families, blocks, all these type of terminology that will allow you to learn things quicker. Because the terminology, if someone talks to you about a Revit family, you'll think about something different perhaps than actually the component or the block. All right. Okay. So then use that as a background to create or to start creating your plan. Right. And right. So then use the basic tools and use it as in the basic form as possible. Keep it simple. If you draw a wall, don't worry about the skins within that wall. Just draw the wall as a 270 size object. I can perhaps talk about that. But all right, so I'm back in Revit. So that was actually that. All right, so in here, I'm back in Revit. And just to give you an idea, right, I'll go to the wall tool, which is a basic tool. You do have multiple types of walls. Now, in mine, I do have already various different layered or skinned walls, cavity wall and a 110 wall and stuff. But if you just go and do your or use a wall and you want to create it, you just go and create the wall. Don't worry about anything else about layers, what this wall consists of, just change the thickness to a 270 wall perhaps, and then use that item to trace over your components. I'll just use the exterior face, that's fine. So I'll just kind of show you here in this sort of scenario. So you'll just draw and trace over your existing AutoCAD file, and then kind of start creating your component, your walls or floor plan. Yes, later on you will start adding doors and windows, and then learn how to add that. So you're not thinking of a design or how far the object is. It's very kind of brainless just to kind of click on objects to kind of create these walls, doors and windows. All right, but you learn how to use the tools so that later on you can apply that, and maybe in a future project, then you think about design and lengths and different things. So it's very basic. You just go through and add the different, use the different walls, doors and windows, and practice them. Keep it simple. Don't bother with creating complex windows and doors. Whatever is there, just use it. Later on in your Revit career, you can look at the specific aluminium window, blah, 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 or specific wooden door, X, Y, Z. At this point, use the generic things just to get, the workflow of how to create a door and how to create a wall done. All right. Okay, so use the basic tools. Don't worry about too many kind of other things. Just spend your time just going through and creating a little floor plan. If you get into a point where you are, because this is very easy if you go through the process, and it'll give you confidence to perhaps later on go and add a roof to this little floor plan, or maybe ceilings, look at foundations, maybe draw a section, that sort of thing. So you will be able to, once you've created the floor plan, go over to additional kind of tools that you would use. All right. All right. The idea is to keep it simple. Yes, Revit there's a big container with lots of info that Revit has, but the idea is to initially just keep it simple. Right. So the first step is just to make sure you can use the basic tools. Right. Draw walls, doors, windows. Don't worry about too much about sections and different things. Once you now have a little bit of experience and confidence, then you're going to go over to perhaps create little pretty pictures. Remember, all your components are very generic or simple. So how you then carry on is to perhaps create a little camera or two. Don't worry about materials. Don't worry about lighting. What you just add is keep it all black and white, and perhaps add some shadows that'll just give you a nice little 3D effect. Right, these shadows, as you can see, just gives you a little bit of a depth idea if you work in 3D, and it will just give you a better look. Right, as I mentioned, don't worry about materials at this point. Just add the geometry, walls, doors, windows, maybe roof, foundations, and such. Perhaps in this case they've added a terrain and perhaps one or two doors and windows. Excuse me. Add some trees and furniture on the site furniture, to create a little the depth and the model. And at this point, that's you'll now have a kind of a floor plan already. You'll have a 3D item, and then an all black and white, and then perhaps you can go over and look at some detailing, right? And start simple. Do a little foundation detail. Obviously, at each step that you progress, you'll need to, it's new, so you'll need to perhaps watch a couple of YouTube videos, speak to a colleague, talk about, or look at some or read some information, maybe do a look at your notes that you've written when you did a course, and start just doing one simple detail. It doesn't have to be right. It can just go through the workflow of creating maybe a section, a call out, and a detail, and then and repeat that. And once you kind of have that, you'll have confidence, and you'll carry on adding to that. It's like an onion, that you have to have the start, and then you kind of add extras to this. The guy that's an expert might not start the way you have, but you have to go through the process of creating, say, one detail, maybe later on go and create a different way, etc. Maybe it's a 2D detail that those guys import or whatever. But at this point, just start with doing something simple. Just a couple of lines, and just go through the process to make sure you can kind of do a detail and tick that off the list. All right. All right, and then the main thing is the idea perhaps is not to work and use Revit for the first time in a kind of a commercial project that you're actually going to kind of sell or get paid on. You'll have to spend the time just to do what I've kind of done, maybe take a little house plan, recreate the plan, and then go through that and practice that. Even if it's the same house plan and you kind of do it over and over. One thing that you shouldn't, or watch is to be too specific. You want to put it to a specific door in, or a gate, or something. At first, don't worry. Just add generic components just to go through the process once, and then again, perhaps do it again. Go through the process again. Maybe later on you can go and download, say, a specific gate from a website kind of that contains those, and you kind of carry on there. There's lots of tools out there that allow you to bring in components. BIM object is one that I can just from the top of my head just can mention. It's a website from hosted in the Nordics, but the manufacturers pay to get their manufactured components, architectural components on there, and you as an architect can download that free. It's BIM object, right? And but as I mentioned in the beginning, don't stress about creating or adding anything specific. Just keep it basic. Basic wall, basic door, basic everything. All right, and then obviously, like anything else, is you have to practice. If you do struggle on a specific topic or whatever, there's lots of guys already on Revit, colleagues, maybe friends. There's kind of YouTube channels that you can join, Balkan Architect, and then these guys, every week they release a little video on a specific topic, and that's how you grow and learn your skills. But the basic thing is do a initial basic course, even if it's a 1 day or kind of a 2-3 day class. Spend the money, spend the time, and then get going straight after that. A lot of guys spend the time, spend the money, but when they get back to work, they go back to their 2D AutoCAD and they forget everything. All right, so that is key. Obviously, practice. As Micrographics, also we around the country, so we also allow you to kind of phone us, ask us questions. If we do need to do a little bit of a training session, we might charge for it. But if it's a quick question, it's not as it's not as a problem. Right, so you can contact us, not a problem. Yeah, so learning Revit normally is a daunting task. because everything is new. Nobody wants to change. But with all these external factors and things progressing to the cloud and whatever, maybe and it is January, maybe this year is the year to do it. Yeah, so of all the guys that have progressed to Revit, when they look back, they don't want to touch their 2D software again. So it is worth the time and the effort to actually get going into Revit. Again, the first steps is just to keep it simple. It's kind of a whole, how do we say, a career basically around Revit. But so there's lots of complex things, but don't worry about those. Just start using the basics and practice those, and you will progress as you repeat that process over and over. All right, so you guys are welcome to contact us in our offices around the country, you're welcome to give us a call, and we will be able to help you with your progress from wherever you come from, 2D software to Revit. Right, the idea here that I've given is just an architectural example. Obviously there's structures in Revit MEP. I would suggest you kind of do the same, because in those, start with an architectural, just draw walls, doors, windows, the basic things, even if you're in the structural industry, because it allows you just to know how Revit thinks, how the software works, how to, add things, how to do a little bit of a 3D, a little bit of detail, and that sort of thing. Right. Okay, so that basically concludes the webinar. If you guys have any questions, you're welcome to type it in on the chat box. You've got our email addresses over there. As I mentioned, my name is Charles, so you can just email that and one of those email addresses and ask, you want to chat to Charles or whatever, and then take it from there. All right. So thank you for attending, and I hope you have a nice weekend, and hopefully you take up Revit Monday morning. Right. Thank you, guys. Hope you had a good day.